Are living organisms similar to each other in any way? How would one classify living organisms into groups? Well, one could compare the genes of organisms even as diverse as the simplest bacteria and humans to see if they have any shared features. So, for example, humans and bacteria don't have to make proteins in the same way. They don't have to use the same molecules, but they do. They use ribosomes as the sites where proteins are synthesized. And the RNA molecules which help compose ribosomes have a specific sequence of RNA nucleotides, and these sequences can then be compared. When we compare them, we could find that there are no similarities whatsoever, or we could find that all living organisms have exactly the same sequence if in all organisms ribosomes are making proteins doing the same function. But what is actually observed is that there are differences, and there is a pattern of differences. And so, based on similarities, we can take genetic sequences and organize the life on Earth into groups. So, for example, prokaryotic cells classified as eubacteria, the true bacteria, they form a group. Their RNA sequences for the subunits of the ribosome are more similar to the sequences of other eubacteria than they are to any group. Now, the eubacteria then form a system of groups where some bacteria are more closely related to each other, but eubacteria form a group. And then the same can also be said for a different group of bacteria known as the archaea, many of which live in extreme environments. While they are bacteria, their sequences are unlike those of the eubacteria, so archaea form a group based on genetic similarities. Eukaryotic cells form a group, suggesting that the eukaryotic cell evolved once and that all eukaryotes are now more closely related to each other than to either of those bacterial groups. Within eukaryotes, there are a diversity of groups like paramecia, different groups of algae, amoebas, etc. But then also three essentially multicellular kingdoms. So fungi, plants, and animals are eukaryotes. And so this is the depiction of biological groups, that organisms are related to each other, even as different as humans and bacteria. But there are patterns of similarity, and this reflects the time which has passed since the last common ancestors of these groups. Eubacteria originated from ancestral eubacteria after splitting from the other lineages. Modern archaea descended from ancestral archaea after splitting from the ancestral lineages, and modern eukaryotes have descended from the ancestral eukaryotes, and this would include animals, plants, and fungi.